want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. We've made a deal today where we're going to be sending them weapons and they're going to be paying for them. The United States will not be having any payment made.
All right, so nearly 3.5 years of fighting in Ukraine, and the war's end kind of seems nowhere in sight. But President Trump is hopeful that sending new Patriot missiles and other U.S. weaponry to Ukraine will help them put an end to Russia's deadly attacks. So Putin is also playing hardball with Trump, bashing Trump's planned 50 days deadline for a ceasefire, calling it unacceptable, however you say that in Russian. So now what? Time to call in former U.S. ambassador to NATO and former special representative for Ukraine, Volker. Also with us is the director of communications for the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America, Andrij Dobriansky. So let me start with you, Ambassador. I mean, what do you make of Putin's snub?
Well, it's completely expected. Putin launched this war on purpose. He is deliberately trying to eliminate Ukraine as a sovereign, independent state. He feels like he is making some progress militarily, although at extraordinary cost, and he wants to keep going. And he doubts the resolve and seriousness of the U.S. and the West. So no surprise at all that this is what he does now. What is important, though, is that these steps that President Trump has taken, assuring a continued supply of weapons to Ukraine on a paid-for basis, and threatening new sanctions that are really going to hit Russia's energy sector, these will take their toll as they are implemented. So
Trump is selling weapons to NATO nations who will then give them to Ukraine or sell them as a legal way to get around Congress. Andrij, how big of a deal is this for Ukraine?
Huge. And of course, Ukraine just had a change of its cabinet this week. So my morning shows this week were kind of tilted towards news in Ukraine when they asked me to appear. But now it's all about what happened this week. What is this incredible change from the United States? Incredible in the very best positive way. And it's not just the weapon sales, it's the support among Americans for this. You know, Echelon Insights just did a major poll this week from the 14th to the 17th. And support amongst President Trump's voters has completely changed. We've gone from underwater at the beginning of this administration to support, if you're just asking if you want to help Ukraine, to when you hear as a Trump voter that Trump wants to make sure that Ukraine gets these weapons, it's an overwhelming majority. And it's not just those voters. Independent voters seem to be getting permission now to say, you know what, we were always in favor of this. We're glad that everybody's in favor of this now.
Let me follow up with you, Andrij, on what we're hearing reportedly that Ukraine has been losing more of its eastern territory to the Russian forces. Yet Ukraine did carry out a large cyber attack Friday against the infrastructure of a Russian energy plant. Where does this war stand right now? Is Russia kind of winning inch by inch slowly, or is this just like a worthless bloodbath at this point?
It is definitely worthless. It is definitely a bloodbath. What both sides have done, you haven't heard big pronouncements since 2023 of a major offensive. Now, Ukraine's intelligence service has been saying that there are some sort of buildup of 100,000 troops along Ukraine's border. But in effect, all they're really trying to do is take a couple of towns around Pokrovsk and push themselves out maybe a couple of kilometers out from where they are right now. So to build it up as a major offensive for them would be kind of an embarrassment. But in the end, what we're seeing are these horrible attacks against civilian locations, which are showing on the screen. And they especially happen for some reason after the calls with President Trump. It's mind-numbing why President Putin would do this. The day after he had the last phone call with President Trump, President Putin attacked a maternity hospital, and then he had drones track down a 1-year-old child. It is something, it's subhuman in one respect, but in the other respect, it's why would you antagonize the greatest military in the world like this?
No, that's so true. Kurt, I want to see if you can make this out for me, because you know, that call between Zelensky and Trump asked him if his missiles could reach Moscow and St. Petersburg. He said he wasn't asking him to do that. He was just kind of curious, you know, and Trump kind of speaks extemporaneously sometimes anyway. But was he just curious, or do you think he was trying to send a message to Putin?
Oh, I think he was trying to send a message. I think President Trump is pretty deliberate here. He doesn't want to be antagonizing Putin, but I think he also is trying to send some clear signals that he is unhappy.
So what is going to get Putin's attention? I mean, will the proposed sanctions actually put a hammer on him and cause him a lot of pain to maybe do a U-turn and come to the table? Or is he going to slog it out?
Well, I think there's actually a sigh of relief in Russia when President Trump said, okay, I'll give you 50 days, because there was an expectation that he was going to do more right away. Now, I think Russia is waiting to see, does he really mean it? Will it really be 50 days, or will it be 50 and then another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks? So they're waiting it out. But I think when they see that the weapons continue to flow, and when these sanctions are implemented and Russia's trading partners decide it's not worth it to keep buying Russian oil and gas if we're going to be paying or if tariffs are going to be 100% on all of our goods going to the U.S. So I think that those things will start to bite if they're actually implemented.
Andrij, what do you think?
I agree with the ambassador. The fact that we didn't get as big a punch was kind of surprising, and that the 50 days were given. However, we also what happened on day 61 with Iran. I would not want to be in Russia's shoes. I know that the president he likes taking a big swing. He likes a big punch. I don't know what that punch is going to be, but it's definitely going to be something. And that's the whole goal here, is to drive people to the negotiating table. And at every turn, especially what happened in Istanbul over a month ago, where Russia wasn't even able to ask Marco Rubio, who was in Turkey, to sit at the table, not even a representative from the State Department. So Russia has been consistently turning their back towards negotiations, while Ukraine, we're now past 4 months since Ukraine agreed to a full ceasefire just because President Trump asked for it.
Andrij, Ambassador Volker, it's good to have you guys. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.